Once upon a time, there was a little boy who foolishly decided not to watch the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's skip ahead. I'm talking about myself. When this dynamic Nickelodeon show first debuted back in 2005, 13-year-old me decided not to give it a chance, and opted instead for superior shows like Mr. Meaty and All Grown Up. Avatar just didn't capture my interest at the time. It wasn't until much later, as an adult, I decided to give the highly acclaimed show a chance. What was my reaction after finishing the series? I'll use this clip from Disney's Frozen to sum up my reaction. Avatar is a highly complex, mesmerizing series that tackles themes most kids' shows wouldn't dare touch, such as genocide, government brainwashing, and slavery. I would love to see a show like Mr. Meaty tackle themes such as these, although a part of me does kind of wish the characters in that show had died at some point. Point being, Avatar is a marvel, pure and simple, and it's become my all-time favorite television show, not just animated. Now, this is a horror review channel, so before I talk endlessly about how spectacular Avatar is, and believe me, I could go on for hours, allow me to get back on track. I've seen hundreds upon hundreds of horror films. Recently, I saw a picture on Facebook that categorized the most popular subgenres in horror, including thriller, supernatural, and slasher. I've been around the block a few times and have seen some seriously spooky shit, but I've become desensitized to certain things. If you've seen one gory slasher movie, you've seen them all. The same goes for movies about ghosts and hauntings. They just kind of blend together after a while. Well, there is one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender that managed to scare the hell out of a hard-edged horror enthusiast like myself. Season 3, Episode 8, The Puppetmaster. Yep, a Nickelodeon show managed to frighten me more heavily than a good number of horror movies, and I'm here to tell you why. The episode begins with Aang, the titular avatar who can control all four elements, air, water, earth, and fire, and his friends sitting around a campfire. Right away, the dark mood of the episode is established perfectly. The forest around them is drenched in darkness, and the characters' faces are eerily lit by the flickering flames. After sharing a pretty creepy story about a waterbender who went missing, they stumble upon Hama, a seemingly harmless old woman who offers them shelter. Hama reveals that she was once a young waterbender who had been imprisoned and enslaved by the sinister Fire Nation. While in prison, she witnessed them do horrific things to other captured benders, which took a toll on her sanity. Katara takes a liking to Hama and develops a friendship with her. Near the end of the episode, Hama reveals a terrifying power called blood bending, which allows her to bend the blood inside a human body and manipulate it like, well, a puppet. Hama furiously proclaims that they must enact their vengeance upon the Fire Nation. She's been capturing innocent citizens of the Fire Nation in hopes of torturing and killing them. In a final showdown, Katara desperately uses bloodbending to prevent Hama from enacting harm upon Aang and the others. Seconds before the end credits, Hama ominously looks at Katara and congratulates her on learning the unnatural act of bloodbending. The episode ends on a hopeless note as Katara breaks out into tears. Okay, so this is some incredibly dark stuff for a supposed kids program. But we've seen dark things in kids shows before. Hell, Batman the Animated Series featured some incredibly dark moments. So why did this single episode of Avatar, a freaking Nickelodeon show, manage to get under my skin? Personally, the thought of not being in control over my own actions really upsets me. Just the idea that someone could use the blood running in my veins to manipulate the rest of my body, it just makes me cringe. It's the same reason why I find possession movies like The Exorcist so unsettling. I despise the idea of someone using my body to do or say things I would normally do. I just picture myself choking back tears while someone forces my body to move against its will. It frightens me to no end. Also, the episode does have some conventions of a horror movie. It features moody lighting, unsettling music, and a hopeless ending. The feeling this episode leaves you with is just unpleasant. The whole episode just has this dark vibe, and it doesn't need to rely on cheap jump scares and gratuitous gore to get its point across. The filmmakers successfully create a mood of terror by means of some incredibly unnerving storytelling. Some of the best psychological horror movies of all time have also done this. While it doesn't show anything too violent occur on screen, I can imagine a bloodbender doing some pretty terrible things to another person's body, contorting it in ways that would bring indescribable amounts of pain and suffering. It's a horrific feast for the imagination. And what did this poor woman witness that drove her to become so insane? Of course, the episode doesn't show too much, but we can only imagine the horrors that took place inside that Fire Nation prison. In the same way, we hear stories about what happened in concentration camps. It's unsettling stuff. The pages of history are littered with stories of unfortunate individuals who were captured and enslaved against their will. And often, our historical records contain events far more horrific and unsettling than anything in the movies. So, yeah, you can throw all the Friday the 13th movies at me that you want. You can keep your Annabelles and your Chuckies. The best kind of horror manages to penetrate my mind and haunt me on a subconscious level. And the Puppetmaster does that in spades. It's a horrific episode, one that will not soon be forgotten by me and many others. And as mentioned, it's way more terrifying than many, many horror movies I've watched. I guess I should be thanking Nickelodeon for being so daring. Well, everyone, we've come to the end of my video about the Puppetmaster. Of course I recommend Avatar as a whole, but let me know if this episode in particular had a similar effect on you. Did it scare you the same way it did me? I would love to read your comments. And if you like this, please subscribe to my channel Round the Clock Frights, and as always, have a scary day, boils and ghouls.